Dr. Benscoter.
I'll apologize up front. If anyone's going to go over their 5 minutes, it'll probably be me, but I apologize. Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to be before you today and talk about Trinity Charter, and most importantly, the 20,000 students in our state care. As a charter school, we're very appreciative of Governor Abbott's order that allows virtual learning to continue under Texas Virtual School Network. While this is a short-term solution, we're asking today that in a special session, a new bill going forward allowing virtual ed to continue to operate in our state also aligns with House Bill 681. That way our charters continue to provide quality education along with our public schools and serve the students and needs of our children. Let me tell you briefly about the needs of our children. In the state of Texas, as I mentioned before, there's 20,000 students currently in state care. 90% of those students are from our foster care system. A 2022 TEA report noted only 62% of those students are earning high school diplomas, compared to homeless students in Texas earning high school degrees at an 80% rate. That same student population, we knew 1 in 4 will be homeless 4 years after leaving state care, which is usually at the age of 22. We know that they're gonna earn roughly 30% less in terms of take-home salary without a high school diploma. And then we also know that that same student population will be arrested at least 1 time by the age of 26. An interesting stat I read over the weekend also, if you look at the state and federal prisons across the United States, 20% of that population comes from foster care. Trinity Charter School has been operating in this space for over 20 years, serving students who are in the foster care and state care system. We currently serve roughly 30% of the residential facilities in the state of Texas. Our census on a given day is around 400 students, but our reach is up to 1,200 to 1,500, depending upon the removal rate occurring within the state. We know that 97% of our enrollment is identified as an at-risk student. On the second page of my handout, we'll show you the bullet points outlining what an at-risk youth is. We also have 75% of our enrollment coming from the foster care system. So again, this is our student body. Our average student has been at least 5 different schools during their academic career. Our curriculum is all TEKS aligned. All of our staff is trauma-informed care and trained. Also, all of our staff is SPED certified. Back in 2017, we realized we were having trouble teaching in a traditional classroom model. So we moved to actually a self-paced, heavily academic assessed curriculum. And that allows us to tailor the services of our students for when they come into our program and adjust it based upon their need. But it also freed up our teacher. There's been multiple comments about the importance of a teacher. It frees up our teacher. Instead of being in front of the room, now they have ability to wander the room and develop intentional relationships with these students who definitely need strong quality adult relationships. We never planned for a pandemic, as I'm sure none of us ever imagined having to live through one, but a pandemic came and we were fortunate that our model easily blended into virtual learning. Easily saw an impact and a strong engagement from our students and an appreciation from our staff. So much so that we saw our students, when leaving a residential facility, were requesting DFPS to allow them to stay enrolled with our charter school. Unfortunately, SB 15, which was a wonderful bill, but put a 10% cap on the enrollment that occur virtually. Well, that enrollment cap is based on your average daily attendance. And for our charter, while we might serve 1,500 students, we have 400 on a given day. That limited us to 40 seats virtually for the entire year. We were fortunate to have the opportunity to share this issue with the Texas Commission on Virtual Learning, who was very receptive and included recommendations from us in their final report to modify and remove that cap, which Representative Bell's bill included removing that cap. So where's the proof? What's the proof in the pudding? Well, of our 40 seats, 4 of our students earned high school diplomas last December 2022. Another 25 of our students earned diplomas this past May. Our students on average were between the age of 18 and 20 years old. The average student came in usually with 3 years of high school completed and was simply lacking the remaining courses that they chose not to complete when they turned 18 so they could opt out of state care. So the remaining 11 students, 11 students who did not earn diplomas, 3 of them chose that the program was not for them and decided to end. The remaining students will start back up for us in August to continue working on their high school diplomas. The last piece I'd like to share with you is we did personal testimonies of our students at graduation. I personally had to have a box of Kleenex next to me as I listened to the testimonies. And there's obviously one testimony that we'll share with everyone here in a few days via email. But one quote of one of our graduates continues to stick with me now almost 8 weeks later. This young man said he was a first-generation high school graduate. And more impactful was, he said his brother was at his graduation ceremony and came up to him afterwards, gave him a hug, and said he now also wants to earn a high school degree. So when we talk about virtual ed, it's easy to think about your standards child, but virtual ed can open a door to serve a student population that we're forgetting about, which really is impacting so many different parts and resources of our community. Thank you again for the time to testify, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you all, of course, for your testimony. Members, are there questions? Representative Hinojosa.
So, Mr. Benscoter, I was not familiar with your charter, and everything that I'm hearing and the data that we've pulled up and looked at really make me pleased about the work you're doing and have gratitude for the work that you're doing. I think that the work that you're doing and the population of students you're serving is what was originally intended when we created charter schools in the state of Texas, and that was to try innovative ways where school districts weren't quite getting there, right? It wasn't taking the easy to educate kids. It was taking the kids that we can't figure out yet, and not everybody is chomping at the bit to take those kids, and that's exactly what we need with an alternative model. So I'd love to come visit.
Yes.
And just want to say thank you for what you're doing. Do you have a wait list to get into your school?
No, I appreciate that's a great question. And before I answer that question, I do want to say one other thing. I think there's around 29 other charter providers who operate under our AEA standards also, and they are also doing great work. And so usually these schools and these providers, we try to fly under the radar, honestly, partially because we already live in a world of regulations and there's a little bit of a fear of having to find more ways to fit within regulation. The virtual ed topic motivated my charter to actually come out and start talking on behalf of these kids. So I appreciate the comments and the feedback. In terms of a waiting list, with the governor's order being issued last month, we decided we were comfortable not staying at the 10% cap. So right now we have 80 students already enrolled for this coming August. We project to be around 250 students this coming year. We do zero marketing. We do not have a marketing or advertising recruitment team. It's simply word of mouth, and then also intentionally connecting with different groups like women in crisis shelters or other such groups.
But all of your campuses serve this at-risk population, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
They're not all virtual.
Correct. We are in person largely. So our normal day-to-day in-person education will be around 400 students. This is in addition.
What's it cost to educate every child, or what's the average cost for?
It ranges. So a student not receiving special ed services cost to the state is around, I believe, around $7,000. And then I believe it's $12,000 to $15,000 if they're receiving SPED services. And our enrollment is roughly 50% SPED.
Your enrollment, okay, I have 38% SPED, but I have 100% at risk, 100% economically disadvantaged.
Yes.
And you're saying you're only getting $7,000 to $12,000 per student?
I believe so. I can definitely double check that. It's been a while since I've seen the number.
Are you getting supplemental funding from private sources?
Not really, no. We've talked about this year making an effort around development and fundraising, partially because under Texas Virtual School Network, we are paid and compensated upon students completing coursework. And our student population is so highly mobile that will be a big challenge for us and puts our charter at risk to some degree if we had to prepay funds because we are such a small operating charter.
But your sponsoring organization is Lutheran Social Services,
Yes, ma'am.
and so they don't contribute.
They do. So I'm actually not paid my salary is not paid for by Trinity Charter School. I'm actually paid for by Lutheran Social Services of the South, or Upbring. They also donate reduced cost, sometimes legal cost, all of our marketing, communication material you see before you today, website, research, any of those types of things. You name it, we can go to them and they'll be willing to donate resources in any kind.
You're not doing it just with state money.
This is 100% correct. Yes.
Are you residential?
Yes. So currently all of our in-person occurs at residential facilities.
So that's got to be substantially more than $7,000 to $12,000 per student.
I do not believe so. The difference for us is we do not carry any cost on the rent. And so all of our facilities are donated to us.
Okay.
And so that helps also reduce cost.
I would,
The last piece to add, and I was in the back texting like crazy. I was trying to get our retention rate of our teachers because that's come up often. The last time I saw it, it was like in the 90% rate. Our staff is dedicated. They've been with us for many years. If you come to a teacher in service, it's not uncommon to see the teacher getting applauded for 20 years of service with us.
okay. And your model, though, is not the norm when it comes to charter schools. I mean, I've visited another school like yours, but that's not typically what we see.
I can't speak to the others. I can say in our space in residential facilities, we are often sought out because we look at it as a complete partnership for our children. And besides the academic recovery, we focus heavily upon teaching the child to have a voice and then also discussing with them their career interest outside of state care. And I should add, sorry, that leaves one other piece too. One of the reasons a bill in special session about virtual ed is really important is, to some degree, we're building the plane as we fly. And part of building the plane includes a vocational certification aspect. And so the opportunity to have our students be working and earning their high school degree, working with a company or a partnership becomes really important also. And so again, time, resource, and knowing the regulations that we need to be able to hit for TEA becomes really important as we do that process.